Property management is complex and requires multiple moving parts to run smoothly. Tenant management is an aspect of that, and maybe even the most important. After all, if you don't manage your tenants right, you can't collect rent effectively, keep your units occupied, or maintain the property's condition, among other vital things. So whether you're a new landlord or property manager, or you have experience and a team behind you, it can be useful to get back to the basics and strengthen your fundamentals. Welcome back, Loopers. My name is Sydney, and I'm a content creator here at DoorLoop. Today, we're going to be covering what the responsibilities of a landlord or property manager are, tips for managing your tenants more effectively, and what tenant management software is and why it's so important. Let's start by outlining what your responsibilities are as a landlord or property manager to just get a clear picture. As a landlord managing an investment property or property manager managing one of your clients, there are a certain set of responsibilities you need to juggle. Each, when handled effectively, can help maximize profit and maintain the investment property long term, not to mention to keep the property a safe and comfortable place to live for your tenants, and in turn keeps them happy and your units occupied. Those basic responsibilities can include things like paying bills, day-to-day maintenance, regular safety and property checks, tenant communications, and handling issues and other concerns from tenants. Keep in mind that these are all large general categories that include a number of subtasks and responsibilities within them. For example, within tenant communications, there's answering maintenance requests, communicating with tenants about rent payments, fees, and other tenant financial responsibilities, scheduling regular inspections, informing tenants of changes to the property and its rules, and so much more. This can all be a bit overwhelming if you're just starting out with your first few properties, but it doesn't stop being a handful even if you have years of experience. So today I'm going to be talking about 7 tenant management tips. Keep in mind, these are designed to be helpful to you whether you're starting out or have a full portfolio. We'll start from the top, then move through the process chronologically. First is proactively handle issues by including the solution in your lease agreements. Now, before we get into what you typically consider tenant management, let's talk about a useful proactive step you can take. To be proactive, you can consider the types of issues you expect to have or have had with tenants in the past, and then you can consider how you can craft or adjust your lease agreement to do one or more of the following: prohibiting the activity, having a clause that states a repercussion or fee for the said offense, or clearly outlining some required action by the tenant under a certain event. This all depends on what potential issue or pain point it is that you're proactively trying to manage, of course. Plus, your local, state, and city laws will determine what you're allowed to include or require by way of your lease agreement. With this in mind, however, looking at your tenant's lease agreement is an effective way to proactively deal with issues and keep them from arising, or at least managing them. Our second proactive tip is to invest in a good tenant screening process. A reason this is another good proactive step is the better you screen tenants, the more reliable your ability to bring in high-quality tenants. That can include things like paying rent on time, taking care of your property, and are generally pleasant to work with. A thorough tenant screening process includes checks for things like criminal background check, credit check, bankruptcy, and eviction reports. And the best place to get these reports? Property management software. Now, traditional methods for obtaining screening reports, even digitally, are either slow or cumbersome, or both. Some sites offer quick reports, but not the convenience of a property software streamlined platform that allows you to organize data in one central place with ease. There is no one way to screen tenants. However, if you're looking for a simple and efficient way with multiple levels of screening checks, you can check out DoorLoop's comprehensive tenant screening tools. DoorLoop also gives you the ability to accept applications online, automatic rent payments, and more. So click the link down in the description for a free demo today. Our third tip is to establish expectations and handle problem with tenants swiftly. One of the most important things to do with tenants is to make your expectations clear from the very beginning. And why is this so important? Well, because it's the beginning of your relationship with the tenant, that's when they'll be the most receptive to you and when you'll both come to establish a dynamic. If you allow them to get away with turning in late rent, not reporting maintenance issues, or fulfilling any other tenant responsibility, they'll likely continue to. Instead, make your expectations clear upfront by outlining them in your lease agreement, policies, and verbal communications. If you do run into an issue with a tenant, handle it immediately and set up the tone for what they should expect from you. Now, this won't guarantee a bad tenant becomes a good one, but it will make a so-so tenant a better one and help reduce issues moving forward. So now that we're in the middle of this list, it may be a good time for a note on evictions. Now, evictions are difficult no matter what, and I hope that you don't have to go that route. However, it's really vital here to understand local rules and regulations even more than usual. You need to fully understand your state and local laws regarding things such as how long a tenant is allowed to stay in the property from the date of the eviction notice. This will help you avoid further issues when dealing with a difficult tenant. If you need more information, we have a playlist on eviction laws by each state on this channel, so go check that out. The fourth tip is to establish reliable, professional communication channels for you and your tenants. Communication is key to working with your tenants in every respect. Whether it's communicating about about maintenance requests, collecting rent, notifying your tenants about policy changes, special events, or anything else. It's not enough to just have a phone and get everyone's number. Pretty soon, you'll have multiple text strings that are hard to keep up with, not to mention ineffective communication records, a real pain if you ever need to pull information to prove anything. You might have text, phone calls, email, maybe even 2 phones. These are all splintered communications that make it impossible to track or really get anything done efficiently. Fortunately, with appropriate management software like DoorLoop, you can centralize all communications into a single platform, solving these issues. Regardless, however, you need to make sure that the communication channels you set up are organized and reliable to effectively manage your tenants. Our 5th tip is to understand tenant privacy rights. A common mistake that landlords often make is not respecting tenants' privacy rights. If you're not careful, you could land yourself in hot water in 2 ways: stopping by without notice and/or entering the unit or property without permission of the tenant. Both are against the law in most areas within the US, so you'll need to check your state and local policies to make sure you're giving enough notice and following any other necessary rules. The 6th tip is to streamline and automate your rent collection process with software. It's no secret that effectively collecting rent is critical to the health of your property. Collecting rent late can lead to paying bills late, incurring late fees, and sometimes not getting the rent at all. However, what isn't as well known are the available methods for collecting rent. Often, landlords get used to one method and stick with what works for them. Similarly, property managers can stick to their ways at the expense of adding efficiency due to having found a process that works for them. So you could use something like Dropbox or even set up direct deposit with each of your tenants, and maybe these methods seem like they're working fine. But the guy driving a horse and carriage probably didn't know that he needed a Ford until he drove one. Each of the methods that I mentioned takes a decent amount of work to start each, and every time you set up a new tenant, you have to do that. For instance, if you use the Dropbox method, you might not have messy bank statements, but you will have to go manually pick up the rent every month. Alternatively, if you go with something like direct deposit, you'll have to deal with fees and more complex bank records. You could go with an online payment platform, but those have fees of their own in addition to being unreliable accounting tools. With property management software, you can collect rent in one central location from all of your tenants. Plus, depending on the tool, you can have it track all of your accounting in one single platform and handle all your property management tasks simultaneously. Or you can have it play nice with your favorite accounting software like QuickBooks. And the 7th and last tip is to consider all angles when planning a rent increase. Increasing rent is an important part of making sure that a rental property stays profitable long term, but it's not easy executing a rent increase given the inevitable protest. Plus, you need to make sure that an ample planning goes into calculating exactly what the increase needs to be. It all depends on the reason you increased the rent in the first place, which can be due to factors such as demand, insurance costs, property taxes, maintenance costs, and renovations. Besides calculating your planned rent increase to make sure it's enough, you also need to check with your local laws to find out if there are any policies in place regarding rent control. You may only be allowed to increase rent by a certain amount or a certain number of times each year. Make sure you're clear on these factors as well as your own reasons for increasing your rent prices to make sure you're being smart about it. Those are all of my tips, but you might have heard me mention property management a few times. Well, property management software is invaluable for its ability to simplify and streamline your property management efforts in nearly every way. It can help you manage your tenants in a number of ways, including streamlining all your communications into one platform, allowing you to collect rent automatically, offering a convenient tenant portal, sending and tracking maintenance requests, and so much more. Managing your tenants the right way is not only difficult, but it's complex. Property management software like DoorLoop enables you to get everything done in less time and with more peace of mind. So if you want to manage your tenants like a pro, then click the link down in the description for a free demo with DoorLoop today. That is it for this video. I really hope you guys enjoyed it, and if you did, make sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more property management content. You can also check out this playlist if you want more tips for property managers, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!